47 made the final and most generous contribution in the community-wide campaign to renovate the high school athletic field. His contribution helped provide the community one of the finest high school stadium facilities in Wisconsin. The impact of the stadium has been great on both school athletic accomplishment and community spirit. Sheldon has had a most distinguished career holding leadership positions in business, government, civic affairs, and philanthropic initiatives. His public service has included Assistant Secretary of the Department of Housing and Urban Development, Commissioner of the Federal Housing Administration, Director of the Federal National Mortgage Association, and Commissioner of the White House Conference on Small Business. He performed this service under 3 presidents. His family recognized the very essence and quality of the community of Whitefish Bay when they moved here, as so many families do, for the express purpose of gaining access to exceptional public education offerings. In turn, Sheldon is widely recognized for his commitment to improving public education in Wisconsin at all levels, including service as president of the University of Wisconsin System Board of Regents. It's my honor to introduce Sheldon B. Lubar.
Well, first, I certainly want to congratulate the other inductees. I'm tremendously impressed to hear these stories, and like one or two of them, I was somewhat surprised when John called me about this. Not that he called me, but when he told me this was induction into the Athletic Hall of Fame, I wanted to know if he had the wrong phone number. I'd also like to add that although athletics was my strong point, I certainly think that's one of the great things that's happened here. I want to thank my dear wife, Mary Ann, for being here. 2 of my 4 children, David Lubar and Joan Lubar, are here, and one of my 11 grandchildren, Charlotte, is here. But it's certainly an honor to be a part of this first class. I must confide in you that this recognition means a great deal to me. Being here, accepting this award, gives me great happiness. My early life in Whitefish Bay, playing on the bluffs of Lake Michigan, attending Cumberland Grade School and Whitefish Bay High School, my classmates, my teachers, even playing football and track, and Coach Wangerin coached me in Cumberland as well as Whitefish Bay. And I guess I should say, even playing hooky once in a while were very happy memories. This is a confession now that most of my children, all my children are, but grandchildren, I did have a habit of playing hooky. And when the principal would call my mother up, and my mother was so defensive for me, and say, well, Sheldon is out of class, and my mother said, well, you have to understand that he is a nature lover. The bluffs of Lake Michigan and slide down there and swim in that ice cold water. We didn't have a swimming pool. Anyway, I have found that happiness is the real object of life. And certainly sports and athletics are an important part of a happy life. And this past week, and it's an interesting coincidence, this past week I found a small book in my library that was sent to me last year. And it was entitled The Precious Present. And under this title was a picture of a big box with a very lovely ribbon tied around it. Now, the book was only 75 pages. And at some early point, I figured out that the present did not mean a gift. It meant be present now. Live in the present. Make each day a gift. Don't live in the past or be worried about the future. And somehow this is like reading the way I ended up acting out and developing my life. When asked about what was my long-term plan, I would respond, I have none. I have short-term plans that lead me to a crossroad, at which point I decide which direction I will take. I always did my best on each segment, but I found I was most enthused about the next leg of my journey. Ultimately, and this I mean ultimately, I realized my ambition was simply independence, being free to determine my own course and destination and making it happen. And for the most part, it did happen. But I know it wouldn't without my wife of 60 years, Mary Ann, at my side. So thank you, Mary Ann. I'm very happy that my long business and civic career enabled me to be a distinguished contributor, since I know I'm not here because of my football talent. Thank you again, and Blue Dukes go.
As an English teacher and the boys and girls basketball coach. Jack is fondly remembered for the positive impact he had on his student athletes on and off the court. He was known as a coach who cared with an influence that went far beyond the basketball floor. After retiring from coaching the boys basketball team in 1973, Jack was approached about coaching the girls basketball team in an era when female athletics was in the pioneer stages. Jack accepted the role in the presence of such a well-respected coach, provided validation for girls athletics at Whitefish Bay High School. Jack was a coach who held his teams to very high standards and was a great teacher of the fundamentals of the game. He is thought to be the only coach in national basketball history to lead a team to the NCAA tournament, as well as lead both a girls and girls basketball team to a high school state tournament. Jack was inducted into the first class of the Wisconsin State Basketball Coaches Hall of Fame. It's my honor to present son Jim Nagle, who will speak.
Thank you. On behalf of my mother, Marty Nagle, my wife, Marty, our family, the Schmidt family, I'd like to extend a great debt of gratitude to Whitefish Bay to all those responsible tonight for this honor. I can tell you my father spent the majority of his adult life coaching, teaching here at Whitefish Bay, and it's probably the finest institution one can imagine, and for that alone, we're grateful. I'd like to also congratulate the other inductees tonight. You know, the path to such honor is a unique path that all inductees take. It's not a common path, it's not an easy one. If there were, there'd be many tonight receiving the honor celebrated by very few, but in fact, there are very few receiving the honor celebrated by many. For that, I congratulate all the inductees. Well done. This past week, I had the opportunity to attend a conference put on by my firm in Orlando. It was a year-end conference where we talked about 2011 accomplishments, discussed the challenges of 2012. And the keynote speaker at the end of the first day was Pat Riley, Coach Riley, who worked with the Los Angeles Lakers and then later on the New York Knicks in Miami. He's the guy who brokered the deal with LeBron. So needless to say, he had a lot to say about what he considered to be the attributes of success. And Coach Riley said three things that really rung true to me. He said, success in life is built on patterns. Patterns that we decide on for ourselves are the patterns that we want to follow. It's built on repetition. The repetition in following those patterns and the character you build in applying the discipline to reach for goals, to be a winner. If you knew my father as a coach, I think those are the words that we would have used to describe him. As Pat Riley went on, and as he finished his speech, two things occurred to me. The first was, as a Hall of Fame coach himself, I'm wanted to ask him a question or two about what it took to be inducted into such an organization as this. The second thing was that I didn't have anything to write tonight, so I thought, well, if I talked to Pat Riley, maybe he could help. Because that motive that got me to step up in front of 2,700 executives and walk out of the conference room and look for Pat Riley, I found him. I walked up to him, he was there with the bodyguard, I walked up to him, Coach Riley, I didn't know what he was going to say to me, or what the bodyguard was going to say to me, but I said, Coach Riley, my name is Jim Nagle, I thought you gave a great speech. And if I may have 30 seconds of your time, I'd like to ask you a question. He said, absolutely. So we started to walk, and I said, my father was Jack Nagle, who was Marquette Tech winner, who Coach Riley knew very well. And I went and I told him a little bit about his high school career, and I said, he's going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame this Friday night. What would you tell him? He said, as a coach, what does it take to get inducted into the Hall of Fame? And he said, and I quote, he said, I'm not sure it's about the wins and losses. It's about character. And then he stopped, he looked me in the eye, and he said, it's about people. It's about what you've done for people. I thanked him, shook his hand, and said, you've just written my speech. If my father were here tonight, I'm not sure that's the kind of thing my father would have said in accepting such an honor as this. It is, however, what I will say. You see, I'm not only his son, I'm one of those people. If my father were here tonight to accept this honor, I think what he would have likely done is read from the introduction in his book. Power pattern offenses for winning basketball. Copies of which would be for sale. Just kidding. But he wrote this book in 1986, and he said, I dedicate this book to the young men and women who have played for me, the loyal and capable assistant coaches who have served with me, to my 3 sons, Chuck, Bill, and Jim, who have never failed me, to my wife, Marty, married to over 40 years, who believes in me regardless of the final score, and to our daughter, Counsell, whatever you may be. On behalf of the Nagle family again, and all tonight who that includes, thank you.
Graduating with a degree in accounting in 1992. He played in more games than any player in the history of Notre Dame baseball. Craig was drafted by the Colorado Rockies and played 16 seasons and 1,624 games as a Major League Baseball player. In 1997, he scored the winning run in the 7th game of the World Series with the Florida Marlins. In 2001, he was named the National League Championship Series MVP and later helped the Arizona Diamondbacks defeat the New York Yankees in a memorable World Series. Craig played 6 seasons and 711 games with the Milwaukee Brewers. He played a valuable role on Brewer teams that made the playoffs in 2008 and 2011. He retired after the 2011 season. He was a fan favorite everywhere he played for his humble nature, his dedication to the community, and his versatile play. It's my honor to introduce Craig Counsell.
Thank you very much. It's a tremendous honor to be here today. I want to congratulate all the inductees. And some of the names are very recognizable to me, and it's to be honored with them today is a tremendous honor. I've got to thank my family for being here, my wife Michelle, my 4 little ones, Brady, Rowan, Finley, and Jack.
You guys are behaving really well right now.
I guess when I think about this honor, what it really makes me think of is how lucky I was and how lucky I am to grow up in Whitefish Bay. I just think back, why am I here, and why was I able to get here? And I think so much about when I was a kid growing up in Whitefish Bay and the opportunities it provided. Being able to go to Richards and there used to be some little strike zones that I might have had something to do with spray painted against the wall in the school. And I grew up playing a game called Strikeout there, which is a one-on-one baseball game, and I used to live on that playground in the summer. From this field to the softball field right out here, when I got a little bigger, I would come out and play all afternoon with anybody that would play with me. And then finally, when I got really big, we went over to Cahill Square and we played, baseball games and fixed the field as much as we could. And those memories of growing up here and the drive that it gave me are the reasons that I'm able to stand here today. And I think back to my career in 2004, before I never played for the Brewers. And when I was considering where should I keep playing baseball and where do I want to end up playing. And really why I wanted to come to Milwaukee probably wasn't so much the Brewers, it's that I wanted to live in Whitefish Bay. And I wanted my kids to grow up in Whitefish Bay. And I wanted them to be part of the school system. And that's, when I really think about it, I've been thinking about that's what makes it so great, and that's why I wanted to live here, is because of the Whitefish Bay school system and the experience that I knew that my kids were going to have. Hopefully, it is similar to the experience that I got to have. So, thank you for bestowing this honor. It's really special to me that I've made an impact and that people have recognized that, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
A sectional championship in 1981 and was named to the All-State team in 1981. She scored over 1,000 points in her career. In track, Mary still holds the school records in the shot put and discus. In 1981, she finished first in the state in the discus and second in the shot put. Mary was co-valedictorian of her class and earned the Outstanding Junior and Outstanding Senior Girl Awards, as well as the prestigious Bill Hilgendorf Memorial Award. After graduating from Whitefish Bay High School, Mary attended the U.S. Air Force Academy, where she earned academic All-American honors in basketball and All-American honors in track and field. Mary graduated in 1985 as a scholar athlete, the top cadet in engineering, and third in the Graduation Order of Merit. Mary served 7 years on active duty and 15 years as a member of the active reserve, spending the last 10 years as an instructor at the U.S. Air Force Test Pilot School. Mary was a six-time recipient of the Test Pilot School's Outstanding Instructor Award and retired from the reserves with the rank of Lieutenant Colonel. It is my honor to introduce Mary Manning.
And he started the call by explaining to me that Mr. Nagle had been chosen for induction in the Whitefish Bay High School Hall of Fame inaugural class. And I was thrilled to death. We had a great chat. We talked about Coach Nagle. We talked about his impact on girls basketball, the teams we played on. So we talked about the impact he had on my life as a teacher, coach, mentor, and friend. And just as I thought the phone call was just about to wrap up, he said, and I also have one other thing to share with you, in that you'll be joining Mr. Nagle in going into this inaugural class. And that's why my joy simply shifted to disbelief. I'm incredibly humbled to be included in this class. I want to also very much thank my family and friends for sharing in this honor, as it is very much a shared honor. And again, very humbling. As a 10-year-old living in Mequon, I had always assumed I would attend Homestead High School. And in August 1973, that assumption was completely blown away when my mom, Gail Manning, married Dave Spahn. And we moved to Whitefish Bay. And in that move, my two brothers and I gained a dad, 5 brothers, 3 sisters, who definitely made an indelible mark on our life. You can imagine, with 9 kids in the same house, 2 had already moved out, we only had 9, that there was ample opportunity to interact with each other, interact with each other's friends, There was never a shortage of participants for any athletic activity or any other activity for that matter. And you can also imagine that we had great opportunities to learn about interacting with others, some that turned out better than others. But that move also provided the opportunity for me to attend Whitefish Bay. And as John said earlier, and Jimmy Nagle too, we couldn't possibly know what that meant at the time. They provided me a top-notch education that would allow me to pursue any future I chose. In addition to that, and probably more importantly, at Whitefish Bay, I found a group of incredibly talented and caring people in coaches, coaches' families, teachers, classmates, teammates that would become lifelong friends. Certainly, I also had the opportunity to play basketball for Coach Nagle. And in preparing for this tonight, I couldn't help but remember a fast break play called Forget It. That began when the other team was sure they had stopped our fast break, and little did they know that Forget It meant start it. A backdoor pass that will always be known as Roger. Defenses that were given numbers, so coach could tell us to call out a number so we'd be in a zone defense, and he could proceed to yell, man to man, successfully confusing the opposing team. Alumni games over Christmas break, Christmas cards every year that included a special play just for the recipient, and was always signed Uncle Chet. And certainly more support than I deserve, and probably more support than I'm aware of today. Wow. And then there was track and field. I remember one day Coach Wolf came by and said, you should come out for track and throw the shot. You'd be really good at it. And I said, throw the shot. Why would anybody throw a shot? Throw a pass, take a shot. What's a shot? I had so much to learn, but I learned I did. And Coach Wolf, who nominated me today, Coach Wolf will downplay her ability to coach the field events tonight, and I beg you not to believe her. I succeeded because she believed in me more than I believed in me. And I know that many of her other athletes would attest to that same phenomenon. So Faye gave me a chance to get an education that launched my life, opportunities to learn to do things I could never imagine I would be able to do, but most importantly, teachers, coaches, classmates, teammates, family that would be my lifelong friends. I am truly blessed. Thank you.
Three-sport athlete, letterman, and co-captain of the 1962 Whitefish Bay High School football team that won the Suburban Conference Championship with an 8-0 record. Bill was an all-conference halfback for that team. Bill was also valedictorian for the class of 1963 and went on to study at Yale University, where he graduated cum laude, majoring in history. Bill was elected to the highest office of his class in his senior year and was voted by his classmates and professors as outstanding junior student. At the age of 22, Bill slipped and fell 200 feet to his death in a valley near Tai Po, Hong Kong. He was to begin teaching history and English language at the New Asia College under the Yale in China teaching program. Yale University established the Howard W. Hilgendorf Memorial Fellowship, which provides funding to enable students to conduct independent study and research outside of the United States. Upon his death, the Bill Hilgendorf Memorial Award was established, which is given every year to the senior boy or girl at Whitefish Bay High School who most closely resembles the high standards of academics, athletics, leadership, and moral character set by Bill. This award has been given every year since 1968. It is my honor to have Bob and Mark Hilgendorf come forward to speak on behalf of their brother.
So many thank yous about my brother Bill, it really, to characterize him, he had a thankful heart. He loved life, he appreciated life, and I, as his younger brother, could see this firsthand. Every morning when he would get up, I would find a note under my pillow where he would say, "Mark, it's a new day, and you're a great kid, and I'm so proud of you, and just seize the day." And that exemplifies Bill. Often he would leave notes around the house when he went off to Yale, and they were words of encouragement and words of appreciation. And I think to honor his spirit today, he would be thanking his mother first. His mother gave him an appetite for learning, for ideas, for changing the world. She was an immigrant mother in a way. She felt, Bill, think of this country. Anyone in this country can receive an education and follow their dreams. Her father was from Sweden, and she instilled that in all three of her boys. But Bill seized it, I think, the most. There was not a challenge, an adventure, a friend that William would not simply embrace. I watched him grow as an older brother, and early in my life, I just wanted to imitate this young man. So in a restaurant, if he ordered a hamburger medium rare, I ordered a hamburger medium rare. If you wanted French fries on the side of the plate, I got French fries on the side of the plate. And even as an athlete, he wasn't the most graceful athlete. He was a hard worker, and he kind of had a lumbering walk. And so even when I was in middle school, I was in front of the mirror practice my lumbering walk. Because I thought I could walk just like he did. And the longer I associated with him, the more I believed that Whitefish Bay created this incredible environment for him to take risks. He tried out for a play when he was on the basketball team. One year he got all the students who were reluctant to do this to get on bicycles, way ahead of his time in the green movement, and he had an entire student body biking to school. Another idea was to have a donut dance at 6:30 in the morning and get the student body to come. Something you might want to think about. Move it back to 7:30. But as he left Whitefish Bay, he realized that all of this support and all of his love couldn't be kept to himself. And I think today he might even want to deflect all the honors and accolades because he was constantly thinking of someone else who needed a kind word. I mean, there were non-athletes at Whitefish Bay who would have said that Bill Hilgendorf had the largest impact on their lives. These were people that weren't in locker rooms, that weren't receiving awards. And I think if Bill were here today, he would just thank all those people who made his life richer. And teachers who weren't necessarily the most well-known. Miss Pfeiffer in second grade, the kindest woman I had ever met. And she turned him on to language and ideas as a 9-year-old. Bill didn't like too much attention. And he just felt that everyone could be, as people would have said, as outstanding as he was. And he really believed that. He believed that people were blessed with their own skills and talents, and that he simply was one of many. So I know how humble he'd be to receive this award, and I know how much he would appreciate the goodness, the real goodness in this community that launched him, and he wouldn't regret. I want to end with a song that Bob Dylan wrote called Forever Young. And I think if Bill were here, this would be his message to all of us. May God bless and keep you always. May your wishes all come true. May you build a ladder to the stars. May you stay forever young. May you grow up to be righteous. May you have a strong foundation. May your hands always be busy, and may your feet always be swift. May your heart always be joyful, and may your song always be sung, and may you always be courageous. Thank you so much for honoring my brother. And I just want to mention that his mother went 40 straight years to the Hilgendorf Award. And she'd sit in the front row, and she taught me how to live with tragedy, how to move forward. And there she was, faithful every May 15th, going to the Whitefish Bay. And she loved this community, and I speak for her as well. Thank you so much.
Well, I think you understand why there's not a lot for me to say about Bill. Mark has said it beautifully and expressed the sentiments that I feel as well. I was the older brother, and it was always a difficult task for me to have a brother as outstanding as Bill. And death, of course, in his situation meant unfulfilled possibilities. But what I want to thank Whitefish Bay High School for is through the award and keeping it alive for this many years, they've created people, and we had one wonderful statement about it, who fulfill those possibilities. And I feel this school is a tremendous resource in my life, I know in my brother's life. We kept the house that we grew up in, and this community will always be close to our hearts. And athletics were a tremendous part of our lives here. And, I went on in life and did things that people would always wonder why I was so tied to Whitefish Bay and the athletic part of my life. And I think it's been said by some of the wonderful speakers just how much that means to a young person to have a place where they can compete, where they can make friends. We didn't have social media. We had sock hops. We all, life centered around the athletic programs here. And I'm really appreciative of the school that has kept alive a very strong athletic program. And I think the world has something to learn someday about competing, and hopefully we can have a peaceful world in which athletics are the way we compete with each other, not the world we have today. And thank you for this award for our family.
47 made the final and most generous contribution in the community-wide campaign to renovate the high school athletic field. His contribution helped provide the community one of the finest high school stadium facilities in Wisconsin. The impact of the stadium has been great on both school athletic accomplishment and community spirit. Sheldon has had a most distinguished career holding leadership positions in business, government, civic affairs, and philanthropic initiatives. His public service has included Assistant Secretary of the Department of Housing and Urban Development, Commissioner of the Federal Housing Administration, Director of the Federal National Mortgage Association, and Commissioner of the White House Conference on Small Business. He performed this service under 3 presidents. His family recognized the very essence and quality of the community of Whitefish Bay when they moved here, as so many families do, for the express purpose of gaining access to exceptional public education offerings. In turn, Sheldon is widely recognized for his commitment to improving public education in Wisconsin at all levels, including service as president of the University of Wisconsin System Board of Regents. It's my honor to introduce Sheldon B. Lubar.
Well, first, I certainly want to congratulate the other inductees. I was tremendously impressed to hear these stories, and like one or two of them, I was somewhat surprised when John called me about this. Not that he called me, but when he told me this was induction into the Athletic Hall of Fame, I wanted to know if he had the wrong phone number. But, I'd also like to add that although athletics was my strong point, I certainly think that's one of the great things that happened here. I want to thank my dear wife, Mary Ann, for being here. Two of my 4 children, David Lubar and Joan Lubar, are here, and one of my 11 grandchildren, Charlotte, is here. But it's certainly an honor to be a part of this first class. I must confide in you that this recognition means a great deal to me. Being here, accepting this award, gives me great happiness. My early life in Whitefish Bay, playing on the bluffs of Lake Michigan, attending Cumberland Grade School and Whitefish Bay High School, my classmates, my teachers, even playing football and track, and Coach Wangerin coached me in Cumberland as well as Whitefish Bay. And I guess I should say, even playing hooky once in a while were very happy memories. This is a confession now that most of my children, all my children are, but grandchildren, I did have a habit of playing hooky. And when the principal would call my mother up, and my mother was so defensive for me, and say, well, Sheldon is out of class, and my mother said, well, you have to understand that he is a nature lover. The bluffs of Lake Michigan and slide down there and swim in that ice cold water. We didn't have a swimming pool. Anyway, I have found that happiness is the real object of life. And certainly sports and athletics are an important part of a happy life. And this past week, and it's an interesting coincidence, this past week I found a small book in my library that was sent to me last year. And it was entitled The Precious Present. And under this title was a picture of a big box with a very lovely ribbon tied around it. Now, the book was only 75 pages. And at some early point, I figured out that the present did not mean a gift. It meant be present, now. Live in the present. Make each day a gift. Don't live in the past or be worried about the future. And somehow this is like reading the way I ended up acting out and developing my life. When asked about what was my long-term plan, I would respond, I have none. I have short-term plans that lead me to a crossroad, at which point I decide which direction I will take. I always did my best on each segment, but I found I was most enthused about the next leg of my journey. Ultimately, and this, I mean ultimately, I realized my ambition was simply independence, being free to determine my own course and destination and making it happen. And for the most part, it did happen. But I know it wouldn't without my wife of 60 years, Mary Ann, at my side. So thank you, Mary Ann. I'm very happy that my long business and civic career enabled me to be a distinguished contributor, since I know I'm not here because of my football talent. Thank you again, and Blue Dukes go.